Already did it.
And welcome to the BCM podcast. Michael, I know you click live, but I beat you to that one, huh? Hey, Michael and I are kind of co-hosting today's show. We're changing things up a little bit, but I'm Brad Swale, the B in BCM. To my top left is Charles, the C in BCM, and to my top right is Michael, the M in BCM. Charles voted for Mamdani. He did a mail-in vote, and Michael's really excited about James Tellerico. So we're not going to be talking about that today, but maybe those are allusions to future shows. So, Michael, maybe. You're excited about Mamdani. I know you are, but
just super excited.
Well, when I asked you the other day if he should win, you got a twinkle in your eye. You love the question.
It's a weird question. Should he win?
I know. You're already starting to argue. God, I thought we were over this, Charles. We had a meeting about this.
And
we're talking about Austin's prop Q.
Just before we switch, he did win, and those tweets from Texas conservatives telling New Yorkers not to vote for him, and from Riley Gaines saying, New Yorkers, do this for Charlie Kirk didn't work.
Do it for Kirk? She said that?
The Republican tears afterwards were actually pretty entertaining. I have to say.
I mean, we're not going to talk about this too much today, but you got to expand a little bit.
Oh, just all the Republicans on Twitter just screaming like the end of the world's coming. And like they actually thought that Andrew Cuomo were the world's worst governor who put sick people into old folks' homes. It was going to beat this kid that's got all this populist energy in New York City, one of the most progressive cities in the country. Like it was just the disillusion that existed that they stood a chance and then were sad when they obviously lost.
And
it reminded me of... Sorry. Go ahead, Charles.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say it reminded me of a local race that we had a couple of years back in the district attorney's race where Republicans tried to take out Jose Garza and failed miserably.
That was like last year, and that's why I'm getting text messages from Democrats.
Because Brad voted in the Democrat primary.
Hey, I'm just doing my part, voting. It works, guys. All right, so Austin's prop Q. Charles is confused about why it's prop Q, even though we've already explained that to him, but we'll do it again today. It was the tax rate election here in Austin, Texas, to raise property taxes. If you're not in Austin, you don't have to pay property taxes. Well, good for you. And, we just don't have that freedom down here. And if they want to raise their revenue by more than 3.5%, they have to ask taxpayers permission to do that. And they were going to raise revenue. What was the percentage they were going to raise revenue by? 20%?
The rate by 20%. The individual single family home owner bill would have went up 15%. For renters and small businesses, it would have been 25 plus, probably, because they don't have the homestead exemption. It was a significant tax increase. It would have generated $110 million for the Austin City Council, even though they said they have a $33 million budget deficit. They're like, well, if we're going to go for it, we might as well just go for it. And I think they got a little out over their skis there based on the results.
Yes, they absolutely did. And they got shellacked. And I think I called it. Again,
no, I didn't.
No, you didn't.
63.46.
Yeah, I said 65.35. Round that up and round them to the nearest 5, and I got it absolutely dead on.
You don't round 63 up. You round 63 down.
That is not true. You round if you're going to fives. You round.
If you're going to fives.
Nobody rounds to fives, Brad. I said 63.
You didn't say 63.
I wrote it down.
Where did you write it down?
Because everybody was full disclosure, Brad and I both worked on the campaign to oppose Prop Q, and we could talk a little bit about what we did and how it worked and the thesis and what the results were if you want to, Charles. I know you're, always looking for the best tips, but everybody was asking me, what's it going to be? What's it going to be? I'm very cagey. I don't like to say we're going to win and then be wrong. I've done that before. And so I'm like, I don't know. So at my office, I wrote down what I thought the result was going to be. 63-37. is what I said.
At my office in my journal that no one can see.
Sounds like a fucking lie.
Well, that's,
And then
I mean, I believe him.
And then one of the people at the watch party was like, it's going down 58-42. And I was like, more. That was the only indication I gave.
What was okay? So who was in favor of it? Obviously, the local elected officials, but like, was there a formal campaign, like, of folks who were pushing it?
There was one local elected official that was not for it. That was Mark Duchin.
Yeah, 10 of the 11 elected officials were in support of giving themselves more money to spend. The primary beneficiaries of the tax rate increase would have been the homeless service providers, the city employees who would have got a 4% wage increase across the board. And then there was a little bit of money for something else. I can't remember, but those were the two major chunks, with most of it going to homelessness, I think over 50%. And so, yeah, city employees obviously are a big block. We have 13,000 city employees in the city of Austin, somewhere around there, who would have stood to benefit. There were two PACs there were 3 PACs. One, Love Austin PAC. They named it Love Austin. So if you vote against this, you don't love Austin. We threw that back in their face. Brad, well done. They were supported by, they were run by the mayor's campaign consultant, was that PAC. Treasurer was a former city council member, Leslie Poole. There was a second one, Austinites for Equity, which is a city employee funded by Ask Me. And then the third one was Care Not Cuts, which was Equity Action. And they rebranded themselves as Care Not Cuts. And they were Defund the Police, Austin Justice, or I don't want to say Austin Justice Coalition because they were neutral on it, but Austin DSA, Soros money. And those were the 3 spending pretty heavily in support of it. There was a big controversy on where some of the money came from because some of the people who were set to receive the funds were the ones donating to the campaign, and that became a little bit of a controversy early on. Anything I'm missing there, Brad? That was the proponents.
Yeah, I mean, just did you say the local fucking city employee union?
Yes. Austinites for Equity, yeah.
All those, but all the unions were, all the ACFMLE, whatever that acronym is. Charles probably knows it because he's a member. Was really pushing hard in the paint for it.
How much did they spend collectively, or whatever, roughly? Guys, compared to you guys,
they didn't have a huge budget, did they?
I think they spent collectively among the 3 organizations somewhere around $400,000, $350 maybe. But they also had their union members out knocking doors, and you can't. How do you quantify that? I don't know, but there was some volunteer effort by the members who were going to get the benefit, and so they ran a campaign. I mean, it wasn't like they didn't do anything. They had 3 mailers drop right into the run-up of early voting with Trump's face on it and Abbott's face on it, and like they were parading Greg Casar out there and Mayor Watson and Vanessa Fuentes, who's Mayor Pro Tem, and so they ran a campaign.
Do you guys feel comfortable saying how much you spent?
Yeah, we didn't spend that much.
This is the major donors as of 10/3/2025. There it is, AFSCME. You pretend like you do. Yeah. And of course, ECHO, the homeless organization that receives millions of dollars from the city of Austin. It's a small investment, $25,000.
Why didn't I use that $25,000 to help the homeless?
Huh?
Why did they use that $25,000 to help the homeless?
Because if Prop Q won, they were going to get a boatload of money. It's a small investment. A small investment. They're going to get that money back. Like there's probably some sort of backroom deal with Kirk Watson. You give $25,000 to this PAC, we'll make sure you get paid back from the coffers.
Sure.
Win or lose.
Well, they lost.
Well, they'll get it back.
Well, why do you think they lost?
That actually happened.
Was the temperature in the city just? Do you think had it not been for your guys' campaign, it would have passed? Like, do you think that the temperature was there to pass it, and you guys changed the narrative around it, or do you think that people just didn't want it in general, and you guys kind of upped the ante and got more people vote against?
What do I mean? Good question. I think that it had a much better chance of passing had there not been a collective effort against it, especially what we did, galvanizing and creating a group of Democrats, prominent Democrats, and the one elected official and former elected officials getting out there and giving Democrats permission to speak out against it. I think that really helped sway it quite a bit. Would it have failed is a good question. I would lean more on Michael about that.
If there was no organized opposition, it probably would have passed, but we had support from Save Austin Now. They did a bunch of fundraising and pushed primarily conservative and independent voters, raised awareness about them, which was important. But I think it was two things. One, the council got a little greedy. Like they set themselves up for failure with just a little nudge because they just went for so much money. There was a general feeling, even among the Austin's more liberal voters, that they're not even spending the current money very well. We spent how much? $400 million on homelessness over the last certain number of years, and the problem's just gotten worse. And so people can see that they're not being effective. So that was the first thing. It was just, you went a little too far, and the economy's not great. We're already a very expensive city to live in. And then the second thing was what Brad hit on. I think the instinct among Democrats was like, whoa. This makes Austin more unaffordable, especially for people we want to be here, nurses, teachers, essential workers. But do we speak out against our fully democratic city council and saying so? And so as the foundation of our campaign, Brad sat down with 9 people across the spectrum. They were elected officials, former and current, small business owners, environmentalists, people from the business community, and just sat them down and talked to them for 20 minutes and just got to the heart of what they were concerned with. And I think the overarching theme and framing was, we love Austin too, and this tax increase will make it harder for people who are already struggling to stay here. And in doing so, I think they gave permission to other liberal voters to say, hey, yeah, the city's already too expensive. Council's wasting money. We don't have to vote for this. And then, not to mention, those videos got 2 million impressions among target voters. And so we spread the word, and I think it certainly helped the outcome. Our objective was, we modeled the turnout and we said, all right, 27% of turnouts can be Republicans. Well, that means we have to win 1 in 3 Democrats, 30% of Democrats. And we won 55% of Democrats.
Whoa.
And so it was a beatdown.
Well, and I'm kind of shocked. I was just reading something that said there's 25% turnout in Travis County. That's crazy.
Do you think that's low, high?
No, that's high. I mean, we would never have that level. We'd have like 7% for a local election. I mean, for a local off-year election, we had a city council election. I have to check what the turnout was, but I don't think it broke 10%.
Well, Charles, we also had 14 state constitutional amendments that people were fired up about. So
did we.
Yeah. No, the turnout was pretty high, and Travis County had a number of, outside of the city limits, had a number of bond packages that were on the ballot. The people in their other communities, Elgin and Pflugerville and things like that, where they were turning out for city council and mayor election in Pflugerville. And so there was some down ballot stuff, but I think turnout was higher than, we modeled it at 162. It ended up being 178, and so it was a little bit higher than even we thought it was going to be.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So now what happens? I mean, they don't have that money. So now the homeless people are not going to have money. The city council is not going to have money. So what's next?
Oh, good question. I'm glad you asked. Mayor Watson is already out ahead of that. He sent out an email. Message received. Time to act. Can I view this in my browser? Yes, I can. I'll just share my screen with you. There's a tight timeline, says Mayor Watson and the Watson Wire. Well, you got shellacked, and so now you got to actually do some work. There's the timeline. So by the latest, Monday, November 24th, they got to figure it out. The city manager already proposed a budget before all this nonsense happened that was balanced. And, was it exactly what the council members wanted? Obviously not. Did didn't it have to go into like maybe a little bit of reserve fund? I don't fucking know. But now they got to go back and really dig deep into their multi-billion-dollar budget and figure out how they're going to cover this $33 million deficit.
Charles, what they did was, and now they're paying for it, is they took the way they organized it is they built the base budget with all the new spending in the base budget, and then Prop Q covered on a lot of ongoing expenses. Instead of doing it the opposite, they were trying to entice voters by saying, "Oh, if you don't pass this, we're going to have to cut these services that we're doing right now." Instead of doing the base budget is all funded at the three, and then the additional is for new services. And so they've put themselves in this quandary where they're like, now have to go in and reorganize the whole budget because of this little scheme they tried to pull on people. And it's
creative.
Bad for them.
It's like, and you can leave it up to local officials to be creative whenever they're trying to get more money. It's creative. It's just, clearly did not work, but that's interesting. So what was, obviously not cost of living, but the cost of it was kind of the big issue. But were people just like exasperated by all the stuff the city has spent money on? Or was it purely just the cost? Like if it were 10%, would it have passed? Or if it were 5%? Like, do you feel that would have gone through? Because didn't you guys spend like $1.5 million or something on like rebranding the city last year?
$1.1 million. And I don't know if you've been to the city website recently, but it looks worth it. Okay. It looks, I love the logo. If they had just gone for the $33 million instead of triple that, I think they probably would have had a much easier chance winning. The opposition to it probably would have been a lot less robust, but they tried to go for platinum instead of, bronze. They just really wanted to get it out there. The city of Austin, keep in mind, they have a climate bond scheduled for next year, 2026. Cheeto Vela, a Austin city councilman, has already stated that is his intention now that Prop Q has failed. He's heard you loud and clear, and now his focus is going to be on that climate bond for 2026. And I can't help but imagine that climate bond just got 10 feet higher. So they also
How much is it?
Well, originally they were saying that it was going to be, I think, like over $1 billion, and then they whittled it down to, I think, $750 million. Now, granted, it's not final yet. The wish list from all Austin City, from every department, the wish list for this climate bond is $4.7 billion. They've been instructed to whittle that down to the proposed 750 or whatever.
Crazy. That's nuts.
Can you imagine some of the things that are on that list of $4.7 billion? It's a climate bond. What is worth $4.7 billion? Like, what are you saying is climate at this point for $4.7 billion?
There's a lot of air purifiers.
They're gonna make arguments that like that climate change is making homeless worse. So they got to throw that in there, right? It's nutso.
That's crazy.
We have that next year, and the city of Austin has a policy that they passed this year that every 4 years, at least, they will do a tax rate election. So, if not sooner, it's least
regardless. Just like
yes.
What?
They cannot. The state limits are too restrictive. They cannot stick within those limits that the state law has put in place.
Why pass a policy saying every 4 years you're gonna do it? Why not just do it then? If that's like.
Well, the policy says every 4 years unless needed sooner, right? So it could be sooner. And because this failed and because there's a climate, so they can't do it next year. They can't. They're not going to get their budgeting in order by next year. It's not going to happen. They're going to be facing a very similar issue. I love that they say that this is the state's fault for like capping them 3.5% revenue. That's been in place since 2019. You've known about it. You could figure this out. But they can't do it next year because there's a climate bond that would ruin. Both would fail if that happened. So it's going to happen again in 2027, 100% guaranteed.
But it's not. But the funny thing is too, it's not just 3.5%. Because if you add in new development in Austin, I think property taxes, the increase was like 7% without the TRE.
Is it the revenue?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
So they're like, we can't live with just 7% increase in revenue every year. Come on, folks. We need another 20%.
I wonder if they're going to I wonder how people are going to react. Like, I feel like we had our school bond, the largest school bond in state history at $2.5 billion go down last year. Is it 24? No, yeah, I think 24. November 24 went down like by a large margin. I think it was like 63% voted against it. You guys had this happen. I wonder if the temperature is changing on stuff like this, on tax increases and on bonds or large bonds at least. And then actually there were a number of other school bonds that went down in May of last year or of this year. So I wonder if the temperature is changing or if these are just like a fluke.
Well, there was a underlying narrative of other taxing entities also, going buku's crazy on their tax increases. Travis County is being currently there's a lawsuit against Travis County right now because of the flooding. They declared an emergency so they could go past that 3.5%, but their costs were only $20 million, but they're raising it to 40. They're raising the revenue by $44 million. So they're getting a little greedy too. And AISD passed a bond last year. What was it?
Tax rate election.
It was a tax rate election?
They passed a tax rate election last year.
I thought it was a bond. I'm sorry.
No. And it was for operations. And they said, we're going to use this money to hire teachers. But they know Austin ISD suffers one of the highest recapture rates in the state. So they passed this huge tax rate election saying they're going to hire teachers. 70% of that money goes to the state. And now they're closing schools. While all this is happening, it's like people just agreed to raise taxes to pay teachers, and now they're closing their neighborhood schools. There's a lot of factors. I actually think this is an anomaly in Austin. I don't know about Houston. I think combined with the lower turnout, I think we still have a big problem when they put this climate bond on in November 26th, and everyone's like, Gina Hinojosa, woo! And they're showing up to the polls. They're going to vote. They're going to pull the ticket on climate bond for sure. Do
you think that the fact that an election was going on during like the government shutdown and just everything else, the conversation, do you think that played a role in it too?
I don't know.
All that.
I don't know. I think at that point it was. Oh, sorry. I think at that point it was already kind of set, but maybe.
Well, I mean, Cheeto Vela and crew did try to use the SNAP benefits, the government shutdown, all that stuff. They tried to use that to get people to, to galvanize them to get out and vote. That was part of the messaging. Don't let Abbott or no, what it was. I think it was the union president, the public union president that was talking about this. Abbott or no, Trump is taking away your food benefits and your medical, benefits, and you're not going to be able to see a doctor and all this other stuff. So don't let that, don't let them hurt. You got to have the city on your side kind of bullshit. And it was just really, they really tried.
Yeah. They plastered Trump's face. They polled it, right? And polling only gives you so much information, but they polled what are the best messages to pass this. And they figured, oh, well, if we blame Trump, that's the best way. But I think people were like, Trump, what does Trump have to do with this? It sounds like you guys want more money. There's a very, if you're really interested, Charles, there's a debate that was on CBS, and it was two city council members against like these two just normal guys, and they debate Prop Q.
Wait, the council members against the two people?
I love that CBS set it up like that. It was so good.
$300 a month for homeowners.
Oh, so what are we talking? So that's $300. What about the other service? What about the other property taxes? What about Travis County?
So that's Cheeto Vela right there. He's very angry that this Stephen Brown, a community activist on the east side, born and raised in Austin, who's saying that $300 is going to make some families struggle, and it's going to potentially increase homelessness because some people won't be able to afford it. And Cheeto Vela just gets irate about
a month for homeowners.
Oh, so what are we talking? So that's
$300.
What about the other service? What about the other property taxes? What about Travis County? What about Travis? What about Travis County? What about?
I mean, someone's going to become homeless. It's going to be the next dollar. At some point, you're going to go homeless. Maybe it's $300. Maybe it's less. Maybe it's more.
Echo's report, which is what he's citing here, Echo's own report, Ending Community Homeless Organization or whatever, they said for every $100 increase in rent, the homeless population in Austin increases by 9%. And so if you're adding a $300 tax increase, which is going to get passed down to renters, like obviously 1 in 5 households in Austin is low income. 50% is low to moderate income. And so the idea that, Cheeto Velo with his $140,000 salary, it's not going to hurt him and his friends, but like, this is real money to people, and they're facing increases everywhere else in every aspect of their life. And like, they're never going to win that argument. Oh, don't worry about it. It's just $25 a month.
What about?
I wonder
Yeah, I feel like said
about.
every $100 for every $100,
Yeah.
people will experience homelessness.
I mean, in that same quote unquote debate, Ryan Alter, tries to shame people into saying, if you don't pass this, then your parks are going to be, your parks won't be maintained, and you're not going to you're not going to have firefighters and police, and also like just real dumb shit. Ryan Alter represents a very affluent area in Austin, District 5, Zilker, Barton Hills, some other very, very rich neighborhoods, very progressive neighborhoods. And the Barton Hills Neighborhood Association voted to oppose Prop Q with Ryan Alter there making the case. They opposed it. And they said, like, I mean, in their decree, all that whereas such and such, whereas such and such, the city of Austin is not focusing on essentials. They're focusing on choo-choo trains and, parks over highways and stuff like that, things that are not essential, and an affordability crisis. And I mean, I think that Ryan Alter and Cheeto Vela came out in front of this basically as the faces of the movement. Like, I think they are going to hurt the most for this. And I hope that people remember Ryan Alter when he goes up for re-election. I think that's next year. Vanessa Fuentes, our mayor pro tem, was in Japan when this was happening on the taxpayer dime.
God. Well, that was my question. I wonder if people are going to actually hold them accountable for this. Like, I mean, hold them accountable didn't pass, but like, obviously these people were so out of touch with the average, everyday person who lives in Austin that he's arguing with a regular taxpayer saying like, no, $300 isn't that much. So I wonder if people are going to hold that. Probably not, but I'm curious if you think this is something that can be built upon, or is this just a fleeting moment focused on a tax rate increase or a specific bond rather than a reflection on how people might feel towards these people?
It depends on what they do next. The collective, the opposition does next. There's one path where you force people to do something they're very uncomfortable with doing, and everybody loses interest and disaggregates and breaks up, and there's another path where you do things constructively that can be productive towards a building momentum towards 2026. But which path we choose is yet to be determined.
Wait, so they're up for re-election November 26th?
That wasn't very clear, but Brad knows what I'm saying.
Oh, I get it. I know exactly what you're saying, brother. Yeah, it's I think 2026.
No, that's no time though. That's a short period in which you can keep their faces front and center as the symbols of this.
I don't know.
It's a year. It's a year.
It's November. So it's Paxton v. or Cornyn v. Goodwin, and Hinojosa. What is she running for again?
For
everything.
Governor.
So. She might get my vote. I don't know. I might vote for her.
You do vote for Democrat often, so
I do not. I've done it one time in my entire life. So yeah, I think that. I mean, I don't know. Ryan Alter. I think Ryan Alter's seat is probably up for grabs. And I think he's up for re-election next year. So, and I mean, and it's not just Prop Q. I think it's just the general feel. I think that seat is not prime for like a conservative. I'm not saying that. I'm not a cuckoo, but I think it could be a little bit more moderate. Someone like a Mark Duchin, a more moderate Democrat.
But wasn't that what he was supposed to be? He's like this Harvard law lawyer, geeky was Watson's staff member, and like I thought he was kind of pitching himself as moderate, and since he got elected, he's been not so.
Very progressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't honestly, I don't really know what the difference is at this point. So,
And is it? I don't even know that he's progressive. I just think he's stupid.
ooh,
Whoops.
damn.
I don't know. There's something about, and Charles, there's something about City Hall, being in City Hall, that goes to people's heads, and like that happened to Ryan Alter, like big time. Like it was like his prize. He wanted it. He got through a tough, like 5-person race, went to a runoff, and beat the gal, and then he's there, and his head gets real big, and he just starts making. Yeah. He's not obviously not stupid. He's he has a Harvard law degree. So stupid's the wrong word. Just, I don't know, a little out of touch.
It's fair.
Well, he doesn't come off as like the type of person that, he went to Harvard, but he kind of comes off as the type of person that's maybe, he wants the power and he's never really had it in many situations, and maybe a little bit, like successful, obviously, but like maybe outcast a little bit. And now he has this power, and I think that you're right. It's kind of gotten to, I'm in City Hall. I wonder how often he's actually in City Hall. I posit that very few of them are actually ever in City Hall, but yeah, I think he's got some small man syndrome, maybe.
Little Ted Cruz in there.
Well, I feel like that's probably a lot of people who go to Harvard and then get into a position of authority. It depends on how you control it, but I feel like that's the stereotype. Like, they're outcasts, they're smart, they get into Harvard, blah, 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 the same thing. But I'm curious about how this places Mark Dushin. Like, shouldn't he now be kind of like the savior of the affordable, the savior of affordability in the city of Austin? Like, is he in a prominent position now with, 63 people? Presumably, these 63% of people aren't like 63% supporters of his, but clearly he was the only one on their side on this. So where does that put him?
Yeah, he's short term. He's the hero.
Hero of the people, but isn't he probably going to get a bunch of shit in City Hall?
Yeah, it's tough he's in a tough spot because he's much more thoughtful about the votes and choices he makes. There's just a very go along to get along mentality at City Hall, and Mark, he's a Democrat. They're all Democrats. He's come out of Democrat politics. He ran a lot of Democrat campaigns, including school board and city council, and so that's his world. But he was just, I don't know, he's willing to stand on principle, and here he did, and he made the right choice. And I think him stepping out encouraged a lot of other people to be like, yeah, me too. This is bullshit. And so I hope the support comes. He's not up till 28 though, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
It sucks though, because for him to be so I'm assuming he's outspoken. For him to be so outspoken and so vocal, it's an interesting position to be in, because now he's a hero among the people and probably an outcast among the group he needs to work with. And so how do you utilize that unless these people stay active and help push for whatever the hell it is he works on, whatever he wants, like whatever issues he focuses on at City Hall. But otherwise, it kind of puts him in an awkward position. But
I have a question, and this is maybe for both of you. It pertains to Austin, but I think it's probably the same thing in Houston. So yeah, Mark Duchin certainly came out, and he's a hero to many people for coming out and opposing this and doing it in a very thoughtful way, and genuinely a brave thing to do in his position, where now he's going to have to give you a harder time passing some ordinances at City Hall. But do people, hero of the people, do people know who he is? Do people know who Kirk Watson is? Right? You go like this, but I guarantee I would not be surprised if 80% of Austinites don't know who the mayor is. Could not name him.
It's not 80, but
you a picture, who is this person? They wouldn't be able to tell you.
That's a different question, but I often describe it to people in this way. There are concentric circles of the population. There's a tiny portion in the middle that's probably
like that.
Tiny. Probably 4 to 5% that like know what the city council is doing and like pay attention on a weekly basis and follow the news and like. And then there's another circle. It's a little bit bigger. It's maybe 10, 15%. They could tell you who their city council member is and maybe they know what district or who their city council member is. Maybe they know what district they're in. And they have some situational awareness of city hall and who's elected. But then the 80% of people in Austin, they have no idea. They have no idea. Watson's a little bit different just because he's been mayor twice in 2 different generations and he's been a state senator for a really long time. So his name ID is probably higher than a normal mayor like a Steve Adler, but I would say 80% of the population has no idea.
I think that if people read an article with Kirk Watson's name, that would register he's the mayor. But if you just went up and asked them who's the mayor, I don't think 80% of people could answer that.
Is it? Yeah, maybe. Is it the same in Houston, Charles?
No. I think for city council and commissioners court, yes, but the mayor and county judge, everybody know. Even if you don't pay attention, because like we have characters. Like,
Who's your mayor? It's Sylvester Stallone. What's your mayor's name?
Sylvester Turner, who passed away.
John Whitmire.
But we have because like I don't know, maybe it's specific to Houston because we always have like characters like who like take these big positions. Like Lena Hidalgo became like a big character that all the Republicans in the state then like focus on, or Turner was a big character. Like even outside of the mayors, like we just have like, the Tony Busbys and the Mattress Max, like all the people who become really popular have these like really larger than life characters. And I think it's the same for the mayor. And so like random people, like I'll be in an Uber and people will be like, John Whitmire hates trains. And it's like,
John Whitmire is fucking awesome.
Like, people know, but I won't say that they are involved or they know the day to day or they know their city council member or anything like that. But for the mayor and the county judge, they typically, this county judge, the prior county judge, no. This county judge, yes. And for the past like 3 mayors, I would say at least, well, that's how long I've lived in the city. They've known just because they've been kind of larger than life characters. And because we flood all the time, so the mayor's always on TV, like always on TV.
Why is that?
Why is what?
Is it just because they're big characters? Is that the answer?
That they're always on TV?
Yeah, but the people know them because they're just characters that fucking
I think
character.
Well, yeah, I think they have their like shticks that people like kind of associate with them, but they're always also on TV because we always have some sort of like flooding or like some sort of disaster where the mayor's on TV like on a pretty regular basis. Like we haven't flooded in a little bit here, but like in an average year, we have significant enough street flooding that the mayor's on TV like twice a month talking about something related to that. So like you just can't get away from seeing the mayor.
So part of the solution here is we need more sunlight and focus on City Hall, so people are engaged.
But I don't know. But that's the thing. The attention that they give the mayor and the fact that they know him, they're not more engaged. They just know who he is.
Did your Uber driver, was he mad that he doesn't like trains?
Yes. There's a large number of people in the city who are mad, who don't even take the train themselves, or who are not engaged with politics, who are upset that the mayor is kind of like quote unquote anti-public transit. But he's not really. But
he just doesn't want a train. He doesn't want more trains.
Well, he doesn't even say anything about trains. That's just kind of like what they they're just like he doesn't like trains. It's just there are a couple instances. A couple weeks ago, they changed the light. What do they call it? The light priority, where the train got the priority for using the lights downtown, so that I can keep going without traffic. And they changed that and turned it into a huge issue. So there's all these like little things that people like pick up on, and it's just been an issue. So all of the stuff that the people have been mad at the mayor about since he's taken office have dealt with Metro, and so they always kind of like associate him with trains and buses.
Yeah, you don't take the train either, Charles. So
I do take the train.
Yeah, we've talked about this. You don't take the train.
I take the train all the time.
No, you don't. It's a fucking lie.
I do. I love
you take it occasionally for like big events. That's it.
No, I take it all the time. I took it to.
You love to Instagram and drive.
Yes.
So yeah, Prop Q is over, and I think that's it'll be interesting to see what happens next. I'm excited about what happens next. I think that there's some cool things a brewing.
Well, what happens next?
I'm not so optimistic.
You tell the inquiring public wants to know.
I mean, what happens next? There are 3 potential issues in May. One is the firefighters 4-person staffing. One is whether or not we expand the convention center, and a third may be a citywide audit. And
Wait,
those,
so you guys, I thought the convention center thing was like going green lit.
Yeah, but we got
it has been repetitioned.
yeah 20,000.
Get out of here! Wow,
Yeah.
good
The
on you.
construction's already started.
They're going to petition anyway. It's already submitted.
I get it. I'm fine. I love the chaos. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm excited about the chaos, and I hope that it fails, even though construction has started. Like that makes me really, really happy. Like I want to see the city council squirm and try to figure it out. But it's just wild that they're not giving up. It's great.
Yeah,
That's good.
And
20,000 signatures. That's a lot of signatures to say we hate the stadium. We want to vote on it again.
and so what? Okay, so you have 3 issues, all very contentious, all have very strong special interests involved.
Is the firefighters one? Is that contentious?
The 4-person staffing?
That contentious? Like that seems like a super easy sell. Like easily 70%, 75% are going to vote for that.
Not when you're facing a budget deficit like they are, because that was why they made the change. And I would argue, from a do I really want to get the firefighters mad at me right now?
They don't fight fires anymore.
Yeah, they don't fight fires. So you really need 4 people showing up to an accident on Congress Avenue. Like, do you have to have 4 people on the engine? And so I think it probably passes. But the point I was
making, are you saying you want to defund the police, Michael? What is going on?
No, in my world, we would merge EMS and fire and then not have 4-person staffing. But that's just my own libertarian sensibility.
Hey, so Austin has separate EMS and fire?
Yeah, but they serve the same purpose. There were 600. Well, my last year at City Hall, there were 640-ish structure fires, which included dumpsters on fire and stuff like that. So that's like not quite 2 a day. And we have a huge fire department, and it's mostly responding to medical emergencies, car crashes, those sorts of things, which is kind of the function of EMS. So I don't know why they're separate management. We could spend that money on more services or give it back to the taxpayers rather than having duplicate management.
I love that you think they're going to give it back to the taxpayers and not like more homeless, trans homeless programs or something like that.
But that wasn't my point. My point was the coalition that we put together, the coalition that we put together, it's fragile. It's Opportunity Austin, who is the organization that recruits businesses to the Austin, Texas area. They're like what the chamber is supposed to do. And then it's like the environmentalists, and they're like in this coalition together. They're the NIMBY neighborhoods, and then there's some conservative business leaders, and then like it's very fragile. And then you start making them take positions on an audit and on a convention center and on a firefighter. They're just going to break up, because they're not going to agree on everything. And so that's a risk to the coalition.
Hey, bring me in, coach. I'll keep those NIMBY neighborhoods engaged.
I mean, but that's the beauty of local government. Right?
Is local government beautiful, or is it like a nightmare?
I'm not local government, like the government structure in and of itself. I'm talking about the whole like area of focus, the area of policy. This is that you can create coalitions like that, and it probably will break apart because that's a very specific issue that they were targeting. Just kind of like we had our charter amendment to give city council more power from the mayor, and it was a weird coalition of like the DSA and the Tea Party and the firefighter union and the Harris County Republican Party, and did not last beyond that because like there was really no reason to, because there's no other unity in like other issues that they could find. But 2, then it broke apart, and then for another issue, it can recongeal some of them, not all of them, but some of them on different issues. Huh?
That's an interesting term, recongeal. I love it.
The problem is that's not everybody in that coalition says they want better leadership at City Hall, and that happens in city council elections. And so if they keep coming together and breaking up and coming together and breaking up and coming together and breaking up, they're not building enough momentum and leverage to influence the city council elections, which is what they want. So if I'm, like I told somebody, if I'm on the other side, I'm city council, I'm like, this coalition threatens our power, let's break them up. I'm putting Home 2 on the freaking agenda next week, because they'll start fighting with each other. And that's like, it's unfortunate, but the coalition, if it wanted to stay together, it would say, all right, what is the issue that we really have here? It's leadership. Okay, how do we change leadership? Well, we keep growing what we've built. We don't fight with each other. We keep growing it in ways that we can get along and focus on doing that rather than go down the rabbit trail of convention center or not convention center. Even though I'm opposed to the convention center expansion, from a strategy standpoint, it doesn't make sense because the business community and the anti-convention center people are going to disagree and they're going to fight with each other.
But that group probably doesn't agree on what better leadership is. Do they?
I don't know. I think you could get them to agree around some core concepts. I think the only issue there's two issues that are fundamental disagreements that you'd have to figure out on the front end. And it's growth. What to do about growth? Do you put more density in neighborhoods?
No.
Do you not? Okay. Yeah, I understand your position. I'm saying that's the issue that they can't figure out how to agree on, and it has deep roots of distrust and disagreement, and it's a really hard thing to reconcile if you're someone like me who's kind of in the middle of it. It's like they fought for decades about this issue. Austin's done growing at a rate where we need to build a whole bunch because it's too unaffordable to live here. So our growth rate has slowed significantly. And so it's really not an issue as much anymore. You could find a middle ground. Like we're just going to put density on high volume corridors. Boom. Okay. We all support that. But if I'm the opposition, I'm like, home too. Let's put an apartment complex next door to Brad Swale.
I will. Don't do that. You won't. I feel like maybe there needs to be a great NIMBY-YIMBY debate. Settle this once and for all.
Settle what?
The YIMBYs are actually just NIMBYs.
The YIMBYs are actually just NIMBYs.
Yeah, they're just NIMBYs. They're just NIMBYs for something else. But
all right.
Also settle the density and the all that stuff. We think it would be fun. We've talked about it a million times. We should do it.
We're only doing it if I'm moderating, I decide who won, and we never talk about it again.
Oh
no, because we're never not going to talk about it again. Brad, for 3 to 6 months.
All right, so I'm hosting too, right?
For what?
Today, I'm hosting too. I'm also the host.
Sure.
Yes, both of us are hosting.
This was a great segment. I think we're dragging it on a little bit longer. We're trying something new, audience. We're going to start focusing one show on a little bit deeper discussion on one particular issue that we're all involved in. So we did that here today. Prop Q, or not all of us are involved in or interested in. And so I think unless Charles, you have any other pressing questions about the Prop Q campaign, I think we are ready to sign off. So click subscribe, share this with friends. If you had somebody that voted against Prop Q, share them this episode so they can get the inside baseball, and send us questions. You can find us on X.
And if you have somebody who voted for Prop Q, tell them to give us a call.
I'll put Charles's cell phone number in the description below. Thank you all. I appreciate it. Fun discussion, and we'll see y'all next week.